Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Vlogmas. Sorry, I'm trying to center myself. Welcome to Vlogmas Day. What's today? It's the 6th. Okay, Vlogmas Day 6. So, I was going to do a sewing video for you guys for a project I'm working on, which are, I'll just show you what they are real quick. They're for my sister. They're just like dog-themed potholders. And this is what I ended up with. And so we're going to talk about why I didn't film this. I started to film this. I'm using cobbled together a couple different people's plans for making potholders. They're all over the internet. They're pretty basic. They're just like cut a 9-inch square with a 9-inch piece, on the back and blah, blah, blah. And they go through the whole thing. But of course, me being me, I had to get all creative and not pay any attention to any of these different people's blogs where they talked about sewing these. There's YouTube videos. I found all kinds of stuff. Anyway, but me being me, I didn't do any of that. So let me tell you what I did wrong and what I figured out from this process. All right, so the first thing I did wrong, well, let's start back at the beginning. This is what is commonly known as a crumb quilt. And see how it's little different patches and pieces? When I was making masks in the spring, which was also a steep learning curve for me. You got to remember, guys, I make like skirts and dresses. That's the only sewing I've ever really done. And so quilting is like a whole different ballgame. But anyway, I was making quilts for people, or making masks for people I knew. And I did a bunch for my sister that were dog-themed fabric. So I had all these strips and weird sized pieces left over. And I found out there's something called crumb quilts. And I watched a couple videos about crumb quilts and how you make them. And basically I took all the little pieces and I came up with a 9x9 square made out of all these little pieces. And then I sewed them together. And like this one right here was 2 separate pieces. So I sewed it together. Then I put a little bit of zigzag over the top of it. And then after I put them together, I just pressed open the sides and I just did a zigzag stitch over the whole thing and connected it to this other dog-themed fabric that I had. I had a lot of this. I had more of this than I had of the others because I had only made, I think, 1 mask out of this. So I used the dog-themed stuff on the back. And that's basically what I did. I created a crumb quilt, kind of crazy quilt style potholder. I'm making these for my sister. Okay, now you can see they're not centered and they're off. That's because the pieces were really weird sizes. In fact, this one over here I had to fill in because I didn't have quite enough of this piece here. When you're making potholders, I talked about this in my haul from Goodwill. You have to use this stuff. It's called Insul-Bright. Insul-Bright. Okay, it is made specifically for making potholders and stuff. I'm going to take it out of the package because this was another issue that I had. I didn't think that I would need to change needles or maybe need a special needle for this. But if you can see, let me see if I can get a good, I don't know if you guys can see. Can you see how it's kind of silvery? Okay, this has some kind of like, I don't know what in it, some kind of a foil stuff in it. That is, I'm assuming, what keeps it from, what makes it heat resistant. So I didn't think to change my needle. So I had some trouble doing, especially the zigzagging over this and the 2 different types of fabric, but I got through it. My machine's a pretty good machine. I have really a machine that is a modern machine, and I'm used to using dressmaker machines that were more traditionally, they didn't have quilting stitches, embroidery stitches, stuff like that. So this is all pretty new to me. Anyway, several of the people that I looked at, they recommended using, finishing this off with quilt batting, which I bought. If you've never seen it, sorry, I should have put this over here. If you've never seen it, it's this stuff, right? So I got black, and if you open it up, and you can see what happened with this one. I tried to do it on the machine. If you look, see how it's pre-folded. I tried to do it on the machine. That did not work. Now, everything I've read, they recommend doing, a lot of women recommend doing this by hand. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the edges together by hand and actually sew them to this and then stitch the majority of it after I get the corners. Like I'm gonna attach a corner. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm gonna take like a corner here, like this, and I'm gonna put it on here. Hold on, let me do a better corner. That's another thing. This was incredibly wasteful. Like I started with 9 inches of fabric all around, but then I had to cut it down to 8, and it was kind of a waste, you know, because I don't really like to waste fabric. So I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna like sew these ends first, and then I'll put this on here and I'll go over this with the machine. And I'm going to put a picture of the finished product in the thumbnail so you can see what it looked like. I was trying to like make a video of me filming, and I was having so much trouble that I kept stopping, and then I was pausing it and trying to do it on a faster speed while I was sewing. It was a mess. So, and we all know how great I am at making videos. So I decided we're just going to talk about it. So let's talk about it. Basically, it's fabric scraps sewn together, a big piece of fabric, some of this Insul-Bright, and then all I did to top stitch it was I just zigzagged over the seams between the two pieces, the crumb, what are called crumb pieces. And now I'm going to put a binding around it, and that's going to be my sister's Christmas gift. And hopefully it's going to end up looking somewhat like this. Now, obviously this is a store-bought, you know, made in China. There's probably a woman that sews a million of these a day just doing this part. So unfortunately, she's not at my house, so I'm gonna have to figure it out myself. But like I said, I will put a picture of these when they're finished as the thumbnail, so you guys can see what they look like. And in spite of all the problems I have to be honest, I actually think that if you have a child who's pretty good at sewing or crafty, like maybe a tween or a young teenager, this might be a great project to make for like grandma. The hardest, I mean, once I cut everything out, that took maybe half an hour. I cut everything out and pieced them together and put the pieces together and figured out which pieces I was going to use. The first one I made took me like probably an hour, but then the second one I made took me like 20 minutes, because once I got the hang of doing it, I was like, oh yeah, just do this, this, and this. But it did take me, it was definitely a learning curve. But in spite of that, I still think this is a really good craft for kids that are a little bit handy. I think, you know, grandma would love this. You could make any kind of little scraps you have in your sewing basket. You could do a certain color. You could do all different florals, whatever, you know, whatever grandma would like. Or maybe mom. You know, I'm making these for my sister. Thankfully, I'm like one of her children because she's 11 years older than me. So she'll probably look at it and, oh, I love it, even if it looks like crap when I get done. But so anyway, that was Vlogmas Day 6. I will see you guys tomorrow. And like I said, I will put a picture of the finished product in the thumbnail. But I mean, even now, like this is the second one I made, they're not looking that horrible. I mean, they look like a, you know, a pot holder, right? And all right, so I'll see you guys tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 6. Or I'm sorry, yeah, Vlogmas Day 7. And have a good night. Like, subscribe, please comment. I love comments. And I'll see you next time. Bye.